Go return. Do you know how to turn it?
No. I mean, we'll figure it out.
So it's me.
It's on you, right?
Okay. All right, everybody. The big hand on the clock says it's time to rock and roll, so we're going to go ahead and get going. Last question. Does anybody need to run out? Now is the time. Sounds like we're okay. Just really quick, thank you for everybody for coming tonight. Just really quick, my name is Derek Taylor David. I'm one of the Atlassian leaders in town with Bob and Summer and Josh and Rodney's over there as well too. Thank you very much for making the trek, however long it took you to get across the valley. Alex, thank you for coming out from California. Ed still okay. Yeah. I was wondering if I just missed him really quick. And then again, thank you to your sponsors, Jira Life, for also doing co-sponsoring of this tonight's event, which you're streaming online right over there. Hi, everybody. That's my tummy. Thank you. And thank you for GitKraken for not only sponsoring the event site tonight, helping with the marketing as well too, but also this amazing barbecue that we will very, very much be trying to order again in the future because, oh my God. Yeah. So
Provided by the thumb.
Yes, by the thumb. So if you need to Google it or like right there.
It's a gas station.
It is a gas station.
I know where we'll be getting gas. I got a Prius, but I'm getting gas there. So we're going to go ahead and get going. So I'm going to bring up Bob, and Alex is coming up as well too. And we're going to let them drag Ed away from the barbecue because, yeah, that is his deal. And his deal is good.
Someone gave me a 5-minute warning like 5 minutes ago. So. I just needed your presence.
Vaguely like me, smartly handsome. Here you go. And then out. All right. Last really quick, if you have not signed the yellow time sheet, please do so. That's how we get in contact with you until the future events. That's how the
Yes,
bill gets
I think so.
Please make sure your name's on there.
We pay bills? So Derek, you may see some comments coming in from YouTube, and if one happens to be a really, really good question,
Gotcha.
you know, I can see that Rodney's on, who is our fourth,
Rodney.
the other Rodney. So there are two Jira Rodneys. One is known as the Jira guy, and then there's Rodney West. So.
We've also got Sean Hill from Release Team as well.
Yes, we do have Sean. Oh, this is Ed behind me. Ed.
Oh, do I need to?
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to like?
Good questions.
Do you want to like share your screen and pop that on, or?
Yeah. What you can tell me?
If you want to do that, or.
Oh, hold on.
New Rodney versus Rodney Classic.
Okay. There's a. Yeah.
So Jen's control.
Okay. I am going to pass it on to the person that came from the farthest place, and that's going to be Ed Gale from Atlanta, Georgia.
Thank you.
So, Ed, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So first of all, I am not above bribing people to come to events with barbecue. So I saw that was a successful, lulls you into a food coma. So then you don't remember anything I say, and then everyone's happy, right? So, okay. Anyway, I've been in the Atlassian ecosphere for about 15 years now. I'm a solutions architect at AppFire. And I am also a pit master as my side superpower. So I have 7 smokers in my backyard, and
I've been there. I've counted them.
Yeah, I do have a problem. It's okay though. Yeah. So you know, me and Rodney and Alex and Bob wrote a book once upon a time, which we will be giving away. There's gonna be some serious cutthroat trivia coming up here shortly. So, and it is signed. The only one that has not signed it yet is Rodney. So I don't think there's been someone that has all 4, right? Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I think
You're the closest person that could potentially get him. This close.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think also Anthony from Haiku has got 3.
And
He
Taiwo
needs to
has
find
3.
Alex for number 4.
Yeah.
So
Alex.
We'll be a team.
Alex is the most elusive. So But yeah,
What
so
are you talking
I'm
about? I'm going to spend like 7 days at Team this year.
More than 7 days. You live there.
I know. I was just there last night. Next up.
yeah, no, so I just
you
Yeah,
are
I'm
next,
second.
that was me.
next
Yes.
farther.
So I drove for like 6 hours today. So hi, my name's Alex. My name's Alex. I drove for 6 hours. I'm from California. Let's see. I am a co-host. You're not my host. You're my producer. I'm the co-host of the Jira Life. This is our producer, and I am one of the co-authors of said book that we just demonstrated earlier. And for the first time in like my entire life, I am officially just Dr. Jira on the internet. Like I just do YouTube videos now. And so that's kind of cool. It's I basically have like close to 1,000 videos on how to use Jira online. If you've ever had to Google a question on how to use Jira, you probably see my face because I have like 1,000 videos. Let's see, what else can I tell you about myself? Oh, I am like hosting Teams unofficially, right? Because I live across the street from Teams. And so a little behind the scenes, I just got this information. So spread the word. If you're a community leader, a couple of you might be here, right? There is a party that we're going to be doing behind Galaxy's Edge. They're containers. There will be this really cool atmosphere that apparently is supposed to mimic Galaxy's Edge, but it's away from the people, right? Like nobody else can see it. So it's kind of exclusive, kind of cool. And I found out about it yesterday. Also, if you have any European friends, please pass the word. You need a passport, not an ID. You need a passport to consume alcoholic beverages on the Disneyland Resort. I don't think it applies to our parties, but if you're going to be in downtown Disney or in any of the theme parks, bring your passport with you. Otherwise, you will not be happy. You're going to have to get some dry drinks. U.S. citizens need not apply because your IDs will work. It's just non-U.S. What else can I tell you? I think that's it.
All right. And I guess that leaves it up to me. I'm going to be bringing up the rear mainly because I'm the local boy over here in sunny Phoenix. Good evening, Phoenix. There we go. I know you're here, and mainly because it's not 100 degrees yet. I heard it was going to be 100 degrees next week, so that's kind of like the best guarantee that you won't be staying here long, right? Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Bob Wen, and by day, I am a solutions architect over at C Prime. And like Ed and like Alex, I have a lot of extracurricular activities, you'd probably call them. Like Ed, I do dabble in a little bit of barbecue. Some people, there are people in this audience who have not died from my barbecue, so it's a good sign, right?
Yeah. Wait. You're helping me with the barbecue we're doing at the house.
Yes, I am.
Should I be concerned?
No, because we're gonna make you on camera do most of the prep, and then we're gonna see how badly
Supervise.
Ed face palms during said recording. So watch out for that recording on YouTube coming. That's also one of my other extracurricular activities is, as Alex mentioned, I work on a little podcast called The Jira Life. I'm the producer of it, which basically means I get Alex's water, and Rodney Nissen, the Jira guy, I get his water too. So, they get, here's your coffee, Mr. Ortiz.
I don't drink coffee, but thank you.
Okay. One other extracurricular, and I was actually the one that kind of dragged Ed and dragged Alex and dragged Rodney, the Jira guy. I write books. This is actually, with these four gentlemen, this is book number 2 for me. The first one I wrote with Pact is called Safe for DevOps Practitioners. They wanted me to talk about how DevOps fits in with the Scaled Agile framework. And so I did that. That got released in 2022. And then they wanted to come back and ask me about how Atlassian does DevOps. And so we really talk about it in this one, where the approach for this, we tried to start. Let me back up a bit and say that the first hardest part of this was basically structuring how we wanted to present the material. Right? It's how do we talk about Jira and Confluence and Bitbucket and Compass and
The entire tool chain.
the whole tool chain. And so they hammered them, mostly
Yeah,
me.
Spoilers, if you guys ever get approached to write a book, one, run away from Bob when he approaches you. Two, this hypothetical outline that we created, little did we know was going to be like the rules that we had to follow. And they're like, this, because we started writing the book, and they're like, this doesn't match with the outline. I'm like, we didn't know what we were doing when we wrote the outline.
Yeah. So along those lines, the whole process, it was long, it was difficult, but I really enjoyed it. And probably one of my favorite parts was just seeing Alex fight with the publisher constantly on LinkedIn messaging or whatever. It was pretty funny.
Dr. Snarky.
Yeah. Yes.
So, and part of that outline came, and why is it called the Atlassian DevOps Toolchain Cookbook? And we eventually settled upon the idea that how many of you are really, really into cooking, like Ed and myself, and big gourmet? How many? So you've got your library of cookbooks, right? There's Joshua Wiseman. There's my cookbook list is kind of dated. There's Emerald. There's Tyler Florence. Just like the guys that founded Food Network, right? These days they're all YouTube guys, right? Joshua Wiseman and
Man, you got to get Julia Childs, man, the OG.
yeah. Well, I have a copy.
I'm just saying.
But with any of so those of you that have cookbooks and love cooking, how many of you read your cookbooks from page 1 to the last page?
All right.
Yeah, you don't. And that's the same approach with this one. There are chapters devoted to certain aspects so that you can create a DevOps tool chain, mostly with Atlassian tools, but there are actually chapters where you don't deal with Atlassian tools. You deal with other tools from other vendors. And so we wanted to bring those in there so that you could pick and choose which chapters you needed to get a robust tool chain. And I think without further ado, we should go into the presentation.
Yeah. So this is going to be very high level. We're going to talk about the DevX experience, kind of how it's evolved. What are some challenges? What are some best practices? It's very much a conversational. So if you guys have any questions, comments, please, don't hesitate to ask. These slides are just more for reference points for us to kind of talk with you. So the first one here is, we talk about the DevOps journey. So, back in the day, we were dealing with, of course, back in the day, we were dealing with older stuff than this, but we have, developers were dealing with, the cloud applications, and then they were dealing with containers. So we, you had Docker and Kubernetes, and then we have microservices now. So these applications are built probably around like 100 different microservices, whether it's from the database or anything. And then, oh, by the way, now we have to make sure that we deal with security. So let's introduce DevSecOps in there. So we do vulnerability scanning into our code to make sure that we are covered from that perspective. So that's a way of just saying there's a lot on developers' plates these days. And it's just exponentially been getting more. And so now, we're going to hit to the point where developers, need a better experience. And, along those lines, what are some of the challenges that developers face today? Probably context switching is probably the biggest one. So, they have their own IDE that they love. So some of them like Visual, Studio, and that's their baby kind of thing. But then, I got to go over here to Jira and look at the issue that is associated with the code that I'm working on that is associated with the source control and that I have on my IDE. So, I'm upset already that I have to switch over here, but then I have documentation over here that I have to make sure I fill in and release notes and everything. So context switching is probably one of the biggest challenges that developers face these days. And that kind of feeds into the inefficient collaboration throughout the system areas and the teams, so a lot of times that's why you'll see this notion of shifting left. Let's get the testing over here with the devs so we don't fight with the QA testers and the devs aren't pulling knives on each other kind of thing. And this all just feeds into each other. So manual overhead and visibility issues. So if you have the context switching, you don't have a holistic view of what's going on from a dev experience overall. Developers have their view, C-suite sees a little bit of this, testers see this, deployment sees this. So again, you're kind of siloed from that perspective. Any thoughts?
Yeah. So, and these aren't new things. These were actually
They're still wrestling.
these were actually happening. Even after Agile had been introduced, and even with the introduction of Agile development, where software was essentially being delivered, roughly every 2 weeks. There was a little bit of functionality developed, and it would be ready to be released. But nobody was really touching it after it was released. It kind of it got siloed, and then
Released into the wild.
Yeah.
Any feedback on that? I don't know.
More like it was released, then released. Yeah, I don't think I want to put this.
Yeah, we got it. We're good.
And eventually, the operations people would say, "Hey, okay, we're ready to release it," but then it was just too big of a chunk, just like before, and so there were problems bringing that out into users' hands.
Yep. So, and then on the flip side, there's got to be a better way. So how can we improve the developer experience here? Some of the ways that we can achieve that is integrated workflows to make sure there's, if you're going to context switch, let's make it easy. So we can either come back and forth easily. DevX is all about automation, man. Automate everything you can to remove, people errors from that perspective and get repeatable results from anything from testing to deployments. Repeatable, automated, enhancing visibility and basically empowering your developers. Because if it was up to the developers, they would just sit there in their IDE and that's it. Don't bother me. And you guys know developers. You're familiar with them, right? Just give me my IDE and don't talk to me till I'm ready, kind of thing. So. But making them feel more empowered as far as how everyone sees them, because sometimes they don't understand that they are part of this whole system of software development lifecycle. That they kick the code and then they're on to their next thing, but they may get feedback on the code that they just released and everything. So, getting them more empowered as far as how they fit into the whole dynamics of an organization. And so that brings us to, so how does that apply to Atlassian? So Atlassian Open DevOps. So you could just use Atlassian tools for your entire DevOps toolchain. So you can go from, Bitbucket, don't use Bamboo, to, as your source control. You can use, you could use Bamboo for CI/CD. Anything, all the way to Opsgenie for your monitoring kind of thing. So you could theoretically do that, but does that happen a lot? No, I would say.
Because most of the time, companies are going to go with the tools that they already have. Right. They've already made an investment in GitHub. They've already made an investment in Datadog or
Circle CI
or Jenkins.
And so you're going to have this best of breed approach, is what 99% of the time is going to happen. And the cool thing about Atlassian is that they realize that. They're like, okay, that's great. We can take a DevOps toolchain best of breed approach. We'll just have Jira and Confluence as our foundation, JSM, Jira, and Confluence as our foundation applications. And now you can plug in whatever tools that you are using and your developers are used to using from an organizational approach. Make everyone happy. And so obviously that led to us writing this book. So again, we cover everything in there from, how do you get source control? How do you do test case management? Looking at, everything from, Compass to, your Bitbucket, your pipelines, everything. So again, like Bob said, if you're interested in one specific area of the DevOps toolchain, you don't have to read the whole book to get there. You can just go, let me go to how did they implement pipelines within Bitbucket or GitHub?
The funny thing is we we didn't write a Jira book. There's plenty of Jira books
Yeah, yeah.
out there. We didn't write a Confluence book. There's actually several good Confluence
Resources, yep.
books out there. Some that are published by Pact. We didn't write a book on Git. But what we wanted to do was we wanted to write about the in-betweens.
Yep.
So how does the connection happen that between Jira and a source control tool, Bitbucket, GitHub, GitLab? How does Jira connect with Confluence, and what are the advantages of that happening? And then as far as the developer experience goes, how does having those connections give you a better DevX experience?
Yep. And how does everything tie together from developing the code to releasing it to getting the feedback to understanding how it works?
Yep.
Yeah. So given that, it's about to get on. It's trivia time. I need you guys to get your phone out and scan the QR code here.
So the people that are attending this
Can they see
virtually,
that?
they can attend this too, although we will probably have to ship them the book if they win.
That's fine. All right, so make sure everyone's got the scan going on here.
So,
So
like
let's-
we've got 5 people.
5 people online.
Yeah.
Make sure everyone here's
No,
got to go
they're,
on here.
Okay.
Just.
We'll give another 30 seconds or so here. So you're gonna have there's 10 trivia questions, 5 and then 5. And so what you need to do is if the quicker you answer, the more points you get.
Quicker you answer correctly.
Yes. Yes. All right. We all good? Everyone's good? Locked in? You're probably going to get some funky usernames out of this thing. So,
12 so far.
yeah. All right. All right. We good?
13.
All right. Question 1. So we got 15 players. Going once, going twice. And so
17.
what's on the line is this signed copy from the 3 of us of that book. And you can use it tonight if you have trouble sleeping.
Hey, you two can
I'll-
have fun on a Friday night.
I recommend going to Alex's sections and then flipping through those.
Yes, we for an extra $50, Ed and I will tell you which chapters are guaranteed to cause insomnia.
All right, we good? All right, so this is going to test your Phoenix
All right, let's-
knowledge, folks.
A little bit of stretching.
All right. First question. What is the hottest recorded temperature in Phoenix? Was it 121, 122, 123, or 124 degrees?
I feel like number 5 should be like way too hot for Alex.
122 is the highest recorded one.
I remember that day. That was the day they stopped flights at Sky Harbor because.
Oh, because the
Yep.
runways were getting soft.
Yep.
Yeah, that's not cool, man. I don't know that. Yeah.
That's why we're having this event in March.
Yeah. All right, question number 2. The opening scene of this Alfred Hitchcock movie was filmed in downtown Phoenix. Was it Psycho, The Birds, Vertigo, or Dial M for Murder? I thought this was fascinating. So,
Who's Alfred?
Psycho. So, all you got to go watch that movie again. You'd be like looking for it now. You'd be like, okay, all right, I'm on it now.
Wasn't Psycho filmed in the Universal Backlot?
Well, some of it was, but the opening scene was from here in Phoenix.
Yeah, the building's still there. There's actually a YouTube video where they're from from the last year or something.
Oh, yeah?
It's going to the building, it's there right now.
We're gonna get a picture of Alex out there with a knife.
Haven't seen the movie.
Yeah, if you guys, if you don't like birds, don't watch the birds.
Yeah, we don't want Alex near any showers.
All right, question 3. What year did the Arizona Diamondbacks win the World Series?
Okay. No.
99, 2000, 2001, or 2002? 2001, that's right. Yep. Gotta throw some in there.
Lot of Phoenicians got that right.
Yeah.
Was that the last time you guys won?
Correct.
Yeah.
I think 2002 was the last time the Angels won.
Yeah, the
All right, question number 4.
Diamondbacks did not beat the Texas Rangers, a couple years
This
ago?
legendary musician was born in Phoenix. Was it Pat Benatar, Stevie Nicks, Madonna, or Taylor Swift? I did not know this one. Oh, Stevie Nicks. That's right. Yeah, Stevie.
All right, halfway through.
Almost there. So, question number 5. Phoenix was founded as a city in 1866, 67, 68, or 69.
Wait, this goes against your guys' centennial signs that you have everywhere.
What?
You have
What?
these signs all over the freeway that says Arizona. I guess it's Arizona.
That's Arizona.
Arizona.
And every
68.
But why would the
68. Nice.
Huh?
But why would the state?
All right, let's see who's in the lead at the halfway point.
I was with Alex.
Yeah, well,
I would have thought that one came before the other.
Now,
Right,
here's the
this-
question I have. Who lived here before air conditioning?
Oh. All right, who's
but
Speedy?
comes the
Who's Speedy? Okay. All right, Speedy, you got the
All right,
targets
Speedy.
on his back now.
Josh is the fastest.
Josh is the fastest.
And will Emily catch up?
Robin.
Oh.
All right, question 6. This Tex-Mex dish was invented in Phoenix. Is it the chimichanga, churro supreme, double stack taco, or the flautas extraordinaire? It is the chimichanga. You talk about getting a food coma.
If you rope drop Disneyland, they do have a breakfast chimichanga.
All right, see?
That sells out very, very quickly.
All right, question 7. I can't remember. The body of Phoenix's first governor is in what object in Papago Park? An obelisk, a wooden tower, a pyramid, or underground crypt?
You guys have a pyramid?
And it is a pyramid. I do. I see. That's what I was like. I would have picked obelisk. I mean, come on. Hey, come on.
Wait, can you go there? Like, is it still there?
It's still there. All right, question 8. The Phoenix Police Department is responsible for this well-known warning. Is it the no fault, the tsunami, the abandoned car, or the Miranda warning?
Miranda warning.
If anyone has been arrested, not saying I have or have not. Yes, it is the Miranda warning. The Miranda rights. All right, question number 9.
All right, not too many questions left.
This actress is from Phoenix, and I may or may not have had a crush on her. Linda Carter, Selma Hayek, Audrey Hepburn, or Monica Bellucci? It is Wonder Woman.
Yeah, she's gotta be old enough for you.
Hey, she's only 73 right now,
I
right,
was,
man?
I was
So-
looking for the obligatory Emma Stone, so you
I
know.
know, I'm like, you know.
Scottsdale.
All right, last question. Here we go.
All right, last chance.
And I don't remember what it is. Hold on. The Phoenix record for consecutive days over 100 degrees is
365.
76, 113, 110, or 98. It was set last year, so
Yeah, it was that last year.
113. That's
All right.
just ridiculous. I don't even know why you guys do this. All right, let's see who won. It's fine. It's a dry heat.
Here we go.
All right. Let's see what we got. Hold on.
Well,
Speedy still got it.
Speedy.
All right.
congratulations.
Yeah, good.
Should we?
As far as we know, there is no book that exists
Wait.
that is signed.
There's
Wait,
no one has all
hold
four.
the book and hand it to him so I can take a picture.
Yeah, we got a stage picture.
You guys sounded like you guys were hanging in there over here. You guys sound like you guys were hanging in there. Why do I keep doing that?
Thank you for winning.
Thank you.
So if anybody wants to find Rodney, he's somewhere. in
So
Atlanta.
yeah,
Or-
but like Taiwo has me, Rodney, and Bob, but he doesn't have you. So there's
is he
like
coming to team?
yeah, so there's going to be a competition.
I'll run away.
All right, so thank you for indulging my city history thing. Every ace I go to, I try to find out about the city, and it's always fascinating that what I don't know about cities. So
You should have had. I did know that they have like the oldest capital or the biggest capital. Or
It's
something
like the most populous city as a capital is Phoenix. It's like it has like over 1 million people, kind of thing.
But your capital building too, right? Like there's something special about it.
There's a copper dome on it.
But besides the fact that when you're walking on it, it's so creepy. I thought it was going to fall through.
It has really tall ceilings to aid with the airflow back in the day before.
Before AC.
Yeah.
Thank
All
you,
right.
carrier.
So what we're going to do now is these are all the chapters in the book. We're just going to pick one right now to kind of look at, and what we're going to do is just kind of go over. I'm going to show you a bit of how GitKraken kind of integrates into all this as far as the DevOps toolchain at a very high level, and I'm going to throw it over to Ken, who's going to do the deeper dive or
Not too deep, don't worry.
surface. Yeah. So in the 1, 2, 3, 4th chapter. Or 3rd chapter after the introduction, we have about getting your source control. So how are you hooking up your source control to Jira, whether you're using GitLab, GitHub, Bitbucket, whatever you're using. So normally, if you go into Atlassian's a project and go to the tool chain, you can find where you can add in your source code management items here, and so you actually hit the appropriate authentication to pull this in. But you can also do that via GitKraken. And so I'm going to kind of go off script here and pull up an actual live
So-
demo.
While he's doing that, I'm going to probably explain. And this is my personal opinion, but I have shared it with sometimes clients. And
your legal disclaimer that you do on me.
yes, maybe. I really do like GitKraken as an integration to your Git-based source control tool, mainly because it's almost universal, right? You could throw any version, GitLab, GitHub, Bitbucket, the ones that AWS is deprecating, the one that GCP is deprecating. Anything that is based on Git that has that server model, GitKraken can integrate that and have it show up in Jira.
Yep. And what I'm showing you here is I went to the GitKraken manage integrations. So once you've installed GitKraken on your Jira instance, you can go to manage integrations, and I have connected all three here. I've connected Bitbucket, GitHub, and GitLab. And we can see that they are included, and I've got them indexed, and these are the number of repositories in each of them. So again, it gives you a clear view of, hey, here's what I've got integrated from a Git perspective. And then if I look at the repositories, so if I were to dive down into one of those, I would be able to see, if I go in the repository browser here, I can see, okay, here's all my repositories that I've got indexed in here. So I can see I've got GitLab here, I've got Bitbucket, I got issues that are associated with the specific repositories in here now. So if I were to click on this ACR6, that would bring up the actual issue. And then by default, you see the native development panel here. But if you go down and look at the GitKraken panel, you get a lot more information. So you're going to get all of your same information, but a little bit more expanded. You're going to get your branches, merge requests, but you're going to get all of your build information too here. So it's kind of giving you a lot more information than just kind of a quick eyeball from up here, from that perspective. If we go back over to the GitKraken, they also have, one of my favorite things is the team insights for Jira. So if I look at team insights for Jira, this is kind of where we're bringing in the whole picture of what's going on your Jira instance. So it's bringing together, here's all my issues that I have, and I can look at those from whatever filter I want to, whatever projects I want to. So I've got one project, I can bring in all projects, I can bring in whatever I want, but I can see pretty quickly, here's what's going on, here's the contributors, here's my commits, do I have any pull requests, do I have any warnings, do I have a repository that's stale? It's like, hey, you haven't done anything in a couple days. If I wanted to, I could go right here and I can actually change the status if I wanted to. So I can actually update the issues right here from a status perspective. I can also look at this from a team view. So, hey, I have my team of developers and here I can pull them all in. I can see who's working on what. Again, high level, I just have myself and Jamie in here. Jamie doesn't know she's about to get everything assigned to her. But again, I can come in here and see, hey, what am I working on? Here's my issues. Here from a source control perspective, here's what I've got going on. And then I can look from my sprint perspective, like how am I doing from a sprint perspective? You know, where am I at in the sprint? Am I doing okay? And then I can also pull up the backlog information as well. So here I can pull up anything from my backlog and my specific sprints that I have for this project that I am looking at. I actually pulled in a specific board to look at this. And then I can see again, the cool thing I think is that you can literally update your issue right here within Team Insights. But again, you can see as far as how you're doing from your sprint perspective. And again, it gives you that one quick view of everything. So you're not going into your Jira ticket to see where you're at. You're not going over, context switching, basically. We're trying to minimize the context switching here with this Team Insights.
And a couple of things to add here. I summarize, when I talked to you last time, right? You're really a representative of the user, right? And while this conversation is very technical, right, very, very insightful from the technical perspective, from the developer perspective, as a PM, right, as a project manager, it's super valuable to have this information too, because oftentimes we just look at a story and it's in progress. We don't know why it's in progress or what's going on, right? And a lot of teams don't even integrate. They don't even go, like they're all using some sort of source code repository, but they don't connect it with Jira. And I don't blame them because Jira is actually kind of, you can do it, but there's some hoops you got to go through, right? But this interface a lot cleaner, a lot more efficient here. But what I will tell you, I would encourage your teams to really, if you are using a source code repository, connect it with Jira so that not only are you seeing this very useful metadata here, but your project managers can help with the roadblocks, right? You can see when things get stuck. You can see when PRs are denied. You can see when they are merged, right? You can see a lot of situational awareness and context that helps the people that are like hired to help you as a developer, like help you make forward progress, right? And I think oftentimes a lot of teams skip it, or what I've seen that's even, I guess it's a middle ground. Like I've seen people do like a custom field for their branch URL, which hurts because this is so much more dynamic and live. But still, like this stuff from a non-developer perspective, if you're maybe a product manager, a project manager, it helps tremendously to give you an awareness of where things are actually at, because as developers, as part of the developer experience, updating Jira is not our forte, right? And so this gives you a little bit of insight where it's technical, but it's not overwhelming, right? And still gives you an appreciation for, is my team actually moving stuff forward, or did they just forget to update their Jira tickets?
Yeah, that is so important. Alex's point there, and I do this all the time. I forget the developer experience. There's two sides. There's bottom up and there's top down. So bottom up is from the developer's point of view. We're trying to crank out the code. We're trying to do everything we can. And then the top down is everything from the C-suite to the project managers to the team leads. How are we doing? How are my dev teams doing? Do we have any insights? Are they happy? Are they sad? They pissed off? Are they going to rebel? So there's both sides. And so to Alex's point, this kind of helps you give that look from the bottom up and the top down. And I think, Ken, are you ready? I'm ready. Okay. I think that's all I got for that. So I am going to pass it off to the illustrious Mr. Ken.
You mind? Don't mind?
I will switch with you.
Let me give you.
Oh, here you go. Here, you can.
Or yeah, hot mic incident. Just clip it, or there's a magnet.
Hey, if anyone wants to trigger Alex, ask him if the taco is a sandwich.
Good.
I already did that in one of our events.
No, my trigger point is calling it gyro. You really want to get into my skin, call it gyro. I will.
I'm with you on that. There's one person that does that.
Wow. I'm like in the social network movie where it's like online and it's on the line. I always just overstate her. Not gyro.
Well, thank you everyone for coming. I'm Ken from GitKraken. I've been with GitKraken about 3 years now, kind of spanning roles between product and marketing. So I'm going to talk to you a bit about developer experience and kind of go a little bit deeper on the stuff Ed was talking about. But I wanted to first just very quick intro to who GitKraken is. We've traditionally been like a developer-focused company creating tools for developers. And that's what we've been known for. Actually, prior to that, we created project management software, which was almost a Jira competitor. But our own internal developers, we kind of had a hackathon. And one of the things they created ended up being the tool that we now sell as GitKraken. So we basically experienced the frustrations of what developers went through and said, hey, here's opening it up to you, build something. And that tool ended up actually being the model for our business. So we've since focused on creating better experiences for developers, making it easier for them to collaborate with their teammates and ultimately help their business. I know we've talked a lot about DevX or developer experience already, but a very quick definition is we're talking not just about the tools, but how do the people and the workflows and everything work together. Tools can be part of the solution, they can be part of the problem, but also how we work together as teams, how we choose to do things has a big impact on our experience, right? It's not just for developers. I think all of us in all of our jobs think about the tools we use and like how we work with people. All that factors into how successful we can be at our job. And when you look at developers, they're a very, I would say, high value asset to a company, right? They're building the product that's important to them. A lot of their time can be sucked away from actually hands-on code, writing the code for the products, to other tasks that are taking their time away. So when we talk about this challenge of developer experience, there's all these things that are just pulling developers away from being productive, which is what the company obviously wants from them. And there's some statistics here. Some of this is from a report we did. We surveyed developers. Some of it is from Atlassian, their developer experience report. But developers typically more than or close to 3/4 lose a day of their week just to inefficiencies. We asked them, what are your barriers to productivity? Things like context switching that Ed was talking about, but even things like too many unproductive meetings, right? What are the things that drag us away from actually doing our jobs and be productive about it? And how can we solve that with better workflows and tools? From our perspective, we're very much Git focused. So, we help these companies make GitLab, GitHub, Azure, whatever they're using, that a better experience. And we look at it both from the developer, but also their managers and leadership and the teams they work with. So developers have their own individual pain points, but their team leads, have pain points associated with it as well, like visibility into it, or all their developers using different tools. How do we standardize on something that makes it easier for everything to work together? And then they share these pain points together. So when we talk about improving the developer experience, it's not just making life easier for developers, but it's like giving everyone that's involved as a development stakeholder in the company value by making that investment. So from a leadership perspective, again, this came from the Atlassian DevOps report. Leaders see it as a very important thing to keep these developers happy from both retaining the talent, but also from a productivity standpoint. And the individual developers feel it's important as well, whether they stay in their current job. So it's kind of a buzzy term that we're talking about, but both developers and their leadership find importance in it. So today I'm just going to talk a bit about, what Ed and the crew were talking about is how do we take these separate systems and make them integrate in a way, kind of smooth out these workflows, let people kind of use things the way they want to use them without adding too much friction to their workflow to come out with a better experience. And a lot of this is about improving visibility between these tools and helping people retain context. So as they're working on something, not making them jump from tool to tool, kind of remember where they were. I'll go very quickly through this because Ed kind of already walked through this, but all of our tools, we want to make sure we're working with any Git hosting provider. So we don't care, who our customers are using. We want them to get the advantage from it. Same thing with like issue trackers. All of our tools integrate with Jira, but if they're using a different issue tracker like GitHub, we want it to work with that as well because it's important for people, they're going to be resistant to change some of these things. We want to work with what they have. And from a Jira perspective, I think Alex did a good job of talking about this, is one of the things we want to make sure is that anyone that's working in Jira has the context they need to understand what's going on. Alex's example of like looking at an issue status and seeing in progress. I'm sure we've all seen issues sit in progress for days, weeks, and it's obviously not in progress. It's been sitting there, it's stale, right? So from a development standpoint, by bringing that activity in, the developers working in their systems, we automatically pull that information in so that someone who's a product manager or project manager, they don't have to go and bug the developer for an update, right? The information's already in there. So it makes life easier for the project manager, product manager, but also the developer because they're not getting bugged by someone else to give them an update. Ed walked through this a bit as well, but as Jira users, a lot of times maybe we have 30 different tabs open with 30 different issues that we're trying to do something with. We also want to make it easy to take advantage of this combined Jira and Git data. So instead of looking at it on just a single issue view, wouldn't it be much easier to pull up my sprint and then plot the activity of all those issues in there? With the key here being what issues need my attention. So again, going back to a product manager, project manager, your time is finite. You don't know which issues might be off track, which ones need your assistance, which ones need intervention. By bringing in the Jira information and the Git activity, it gives everyone kind of an opportunity to identify these issues and set up kind of risk alerts that say, hey, if progress isn't moving like you expect, let me know so I can follow up with the right person. So for developers as well, the guys mentioned like developers don't necessarily want to be updating Jira. They don't want to be in Jira. They want to keep that interaction as minimal as possible. So when they kick off their workflow to work on an issue that's been assigned to them, we want to make it easy for them to create a branch in their Git repository. We remember which repositories they tend to work with. So kick off that flow really easy. Don't make them jump into a different tool. Remember which Jira issue they were working on. Have to go back and forth and get that context. Just one click, stay in context to do that. And then let's say a developer is coming back to an issue that they've already worked on and they want to pick up where they left off. Again, without losing context, let's make it easy for them to jump back into those tools. So things like deep links into their IDE. So Ed was saying, developer wants to be in their IDE. Help me get back to the point I was working on in context directly from Jira. Now, how about let's not even go into Jira. As we mentioned before, devs don't want to do that, right? So we also want to allow them to keep those Jira tickets updated from these other tools. So with a Jira integration, they're in the Git GUI, they're performing their Git actions. They can also come in here and update the Jira status. They can update the description, add comments, basically in context again, not having to go to Jira and remember everything they need to do directly from the same tool that they were in before. But doing all that stuff manually, like who wants to do manual stuff? Why don't we just automate certain things to happen? So I'm sure most of us are familiar with Jira automation rules in the automation engine there. On the DevOps side, there's all sorts of stuff you can do there based on this development activity. So when someone creates a branch or makes a commit, why don't we just automatically transition the issue status to in progress, right? Because we've actually seen a developer take an action there. Or when the pull request is opened where the developer is saying, hey, I got a set of code that's ready to be reviewed. Why don't we send an email or a Slack message, right? So the more we can automate by connecting these tools together, the better the quality of information is in Jira, right? Because the developer doesn't have to remember to update it. And again, the developer is happy because they don't have to go and do that extra work because it's being done for them. I'll skip through a couple of things here as well. So in those pull requests as well, like it'd be great to automate certain things based on what the information is in there, like who gets assigned to review it. But what I'm showing here is what we call our launchpad. So a developer, when they start their day, often the question is, what should I work on today? What's the thing that needs priority? Am I holding someone up? Is there something that needs to be reviewed that I'm not aware of? So we created this launchpad view, which is available from a web interface, from the developer tools, which basically organizes all their Jira issues that might be assigned to them, all their pull requests that they might have open or someone assigned to them, and gives them one pane of glass to look through. So instead of checking Jira, okay, what are my issues that need attention? Instead of checking Git, we just all bring it into one place to make it easier for that developer to figure out what needs to be done next. And then also for their team leads too, have a team view of this to know, hey, where do I need to help my team out, unblock each other, they're holding someone up and slowing everything down. And last but not least is just measuring how everything's going, right? But I think it's important that everyone has access to those metrics. I don't think anyone here likes to be measured on something that they don't have access to. If we know, someone's tracking something that we're doing, it'd be good to know what data they're looking at. So, our position on this is let's make all this information about, how fast the teams are working, how well they're doing, make this available to everyone across from leadership to the individual developer, so they can all kind of work towards the same objective and no one's feeling like something punitive is happening without their own visibility. So, that's it from kind of like a Jira to Git integration standpoint. There's a lot more that these tools do, but I think in general, as I have these conversations with people about developer experience and how to make changes and how to increase adoption and get value from things, and I think this applies to so many things, is make the right way the easy way, or the easy way the right way. I think people are going to fall into their old habits if it's a lot of work to change their workflow to do something new, right? So if you bring in a new tool and it's a lot of work for people to adopt it and they don't see that it's valuable and they got to make all these investments, it's probably going to fail. But if the way you want everything to be done is super easy, one click, it's integrated, you don't have to do 35 different things. I think making it the easy way improves the experience and the adoption of it. And the end result is everyone's kind of getting a benefit. Life's easier for the developer, leadership management's getting better metrics, better visibility into what's going on, cycle times decrease. So yeah, that's it from my perspective. Thanks all.
Any questions that anybody wants to bring up, at least right now, for any one of the speakers?
Just more barbecue. It's not going home with me, so. Cool. So you guys got an overview of kind of DevOps, DevX.
All right, so guys now have a quick overview, high level of the dev experience from an Atlassian perspective, how GitKraken kind of helps facilitate the improved developer experience. Kind of got a sneak peek into our thought process when we wrote this book on covering everything across the whole DevX and the tool chain. So, if you guys have any questions?
On to version 2.
Yeah, version 2. We're not hard to find. You guys can find us anywhere, whether it's online, on YouTube, podcasts. Chris can track us down. So,
Yeah, come on, man.
Speedy.
How'd you decide the order of the names?
Rock, paper, scissors? How did we just say that?
There was thumb wrestling involved.
I think
was
so.
there?
I think so. Some
There's a lot of
some
cyber-
spaghetti thrown.
What are these? I'm curious.
Actually, I think it came from, so
We started with Robert when he joined us in this rabbit hole that I regret so much. No, I'm just saying.
a lot of it came about from how many chapters? Like, there was what, about 15 chapters.
Yeah.
There's 4 of us, and some of us, kind of doubled up, and so if you,
Yeah, meet the deadlines. We had to
Yeah.
kind of shift some things around with people's schedules. So, but yeah,
Thank you. Make no mistake though, Robert here was our fearless leader.
just want to make sure it wasn't in order of good looking. Okay, yeah.
yeah, no, it definitely wasn't
Can we
that.
go by age? I'm the youngest.
Nope, wasn't by age either.
Definitely not by age. What can we expect in version 2? Ops Genie is,
So Ops Genie's merged into JSM now.
so that's
So
gotta,
it's
we gotta
not.
update that part.
Yep.
So-
Sponsor a chapter?
we're still kind of toying around with we want, so that's the thing about a book, right? We you spend a lot of time. It was for my first book, it was a year. It was just a year where it's like basically every weekend was all right. I gotta write, or I would wake up at like 2 or 3 in the morning. It's like, okay, I still got to write. And when I'm not doing my job, I'm writing. So, and so this, when I got an opportunity to write book number 2, and it's like, I don't want to, lock myself away for a year. I want to.
You dragged 3 of your closest friends.
Yeah.
Yes, I dragged 3 of my closest friends to help me out and hopefully distribute the load.
Pretty sure it's like, hey, this is such a great thing. It's a process.
You
You'll
pitched
enjoy it.
so nicely, and then you forgot to tell us about publisher.
I didn't forget to tell you who the
You didn't
publisher
tell us
was.
how much work was going to be from a publisher perspective.
Well,
It was enlightening, but it was.
No.
I thought it was totally worth it. The whole experience was good.
but that's the thing. It took a lot of time, and in between that time, things changed. And then the book gets published, and Atlassian and GitKraken, they're not standing still, and so there's a lot of things where the book is aging.
Yeah, 'cause
Like
when
milk.
One of my chapters get merged. I had 2
Yeah.
chapters that got
Yeah.
merged into one because too much information from one they all moved physically
Right.
in the Atlassian world.
Right, and so with Atlassian kind of deprecating Ops Genie, that's one of the easier targets. There's like, okay, well, the capability is still there. We just got to write about how you access that capability.
One of my personal goals with the book is it's a cookbook, right? But there's actual steps in it. So unlike a lot of theoretical books, like you should in theory be able to follow through steps 1 through X and see a result at the end. Hopefully a baked pie.
Yeah.
Or some barbecue, burgers, hot
Yeah.
dogs. Right? And so one of my goals, since I create a lot of content, I do a lot of educational stuff, is to create a course out of the book, right? So I'll walk you through it. And I think what that's going to force us to do is physically, because I don't think that this is true, right? We each individually wrote our chapters, but at no point did we cohesively read through the chapters to make sure that it like 100% flows, right? Bob might have done. So I'm going to go through it and I'm going to see if there's any gaps, right? Any assumptions that we made. And I think part of Rev 2 would be if I identified any of those things, fix it in the course, but then put it for Rev 2, making sure that any gotchas or, just something that was in our minds, but we just forgot to put in the book, made it. The other thing that was interesting is our publisher was telling us how to write the book at one point.
This is the whole fighting that I enjoyed with Alex.
Well, because they were like, we're the subject matter experts, and they're like, this doesn't look right. I'm like, how do you know? This is right. They're like, are you sure? And then don't even get me started on screenshots, right? We had screenshots in here to help you, the reader, follow through. And they're like, there's too many screenshots. Get rid of them. I'm like, how? Why?
It's too small.
So I do have one running that says, I do recall him warning us.
I don't know about that. I've been late at night.
So you've got the cookbook in terms where you set the things up for success for what you have for your tool chain. What aspects of it are, okay, now that I have done the thing, how do I give the training over to the people who are going to be consuming it to say, this is what you do, this is best practice? Because a lot of that, we go through and build tools for users, but in the end, the developers are our users as well too, and they need just as much training, sometimes if not more, than our front end users as well when they interact to say, okay, if I'm going to do this thing, this is how I use this new system that I've just implemented.
So you just given out the title of the next book, not even the next version, but the next. So that I thought a lot about that as well, right? Because even with this conversation that we had today, one thing that I think we missed a lot, and I'm going to go back to Summer, who's my end user representative here. Your Jira workflows have to kind of help this conversation, right? You're just in progress doesn't always help, right? And how many statuses are too many statuses? How many are too little statuses, right? And so there's a whole Jira workflow aspect to all of this. There's an entire, what fields do we create in Jira to support some of this, right? There's just a lot of situational awareness and context related fields and workflows and what's a required field versus what's not doesn't have to be required to, again, facilitate capturing some of this information. For example, you can't move something to code review if your PR is merged, right? Or bring it back, or through some automation rules, automatically move it forward in the workflow. What if you don't have a code review status? Do you need a code review status? Does a code review status make sense, right? Those kind of conversations are stuff that I want to do for more from the end user side of the house, but definitely I can see an appreciation for the developer.
This is very much a technical cookbook. Hey, how do I integrate this source control with Jira? How do I integrate test case management? How do I build a pipeline? What we need is almost a layer above that, and that this is my organization. This is how we run. How do we map that down into this tool chain process kind of thing?
Yeah.
How
does this stuff tie to your goals?
Do we need to change anything? Do we need to, fix our best practices? And how does that map into this technical way of doing?
Did we even cover releases in any to a deeper degree?
We covered releases a little bit.
Yeah. So what's the right way to release? Right? How do you plan for your release in conjunction with your branches and Git flow versus trunk-based development? I think we had arguments on that.
Oh, it's just why are you doing Git flow? Everybody's doing trunk-based development.
Because I grew up with Git flow. Sorry.
We'll
leave it to the experts.
I grew up with training wheels. I left them, way behind.
But arguments like that, right? There's pros and cons to it all. Some might argue more pros to other stuff, but there's pros and cons, and I think that's helpful information that, again, not in the book, but definitely something to keep in mind, because there's implications for how do you use the tools in just running your business.
Yeah, you could almost have a whole theoretical DevX book on what's the proper structure for your organization to take on, kind of thing. And then map that down into, here's the tool set that we have. Okay, so how do we map that in, and how do we utilize that to the best effect?
And part of it is, we are writing against a moving target. And one of the things, DevX has certainly come up. Also, the thing that's come up, AI and ChatGPT. And so
without saying AI today.
I know,
man.
it's like, all right, those of you.
Right there.
Mark the time down, 7:04.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
An important part of this is that DevOps is changing and evolving, where there are certain parts such as GitOps. And then once you have GitOps and you have that push-based development where you can set up platforms, then you have platform engineering. And so that's an important part that probably should have been covered. We didn't kind of cover it because it's a little.
Also, Jira updated their whole UI as it Confluence, so that needs to make it in here too.
Yeah.
And I also found out why Atlassian doesn't put screenshots on their documentation, because it's a pain to
Because
keep
it's
up.
going to change.
It's going to change a lot, frequently, every day.
Yeah, how many videos do you have to revise?
Every single video will have to be redone with the new Jira UI. So stay tuned. I was just telling Ed right before the session here that now that making YouTube videos is my full-time and only job, expect 80 times more content than normal. And then he was like, there's a 10X out there. I'm like, well, I'm gonna have to get an 80X.
Any next questions? Or even comments as well, too, or even Add question about something you're currently facing that maybe the group can also help with.
Yeah, ask us something that.
Doesn't have to be
that Ed and I stand on
DevOps, yeah.
opposite sides, though,
Yeah.
because that's more fun. Like trunk-based development versus GitFlow. We should ask the experts though. GitKraken, what do you guys use? We'll find out.
Do you have dedicated branches, or is it just everything? Almost everything goes back to the main line.
I'm not sure, but I think it's dedicated.
Good answer.
I said I'm not sure.
Well, hopefully it's true, because anything that's against Bob is created in my book.
I can't, March has no comments?
That's amazing.
Wow.
I know.
I'm sucking it in. But I do want to congratulate you on the lack of AI. I mean, that time was noted, and you guys should be proud of it.
Anybody want to talk about the jury UI? That's a. Yeah.
Yes.
What do you guys look at the most? What do you folks look at? What do you recommend teams look at the most? What are the most important metrics to look at when assessing the developer experience on a team, if any?
I'm going to be biased on the executive side of the house, but I'll let you guys go more technical.
So it kind of depends. So one of the chapters in the book deals with Compass, and then within Compass, you can set up your scorecards, and your scorecards are the metrics that you are defining as the most important to you and the weight that they associate with. So do I release greater than 2 times a week? Or is my build success rate important to me? Is it whatever you're defining and whatever that weight is? So if your build success rate needs to be above 80% and you weight that 30% versus I need to release greater than 2 times a week and that's only 10%. So again, it kind of depends on what your organization is and how they do it, and kind of what processes they use to define how you want to structure those metrics. And that's kind of the Compass answer.
I'm going to kind of take it back and say I'm a big fan of the DORA metrics.
Yeah.
And one of the key ones there as far as development goes is cycle time. Basically, how long it takes from the commitment to when it's actually deployed.
Mhm.
And that's going to be kind of that important benchmark.
Is it consistent? Is it?
Yeah.
Also, along with that, what I would add, I personally hate it on the HR side when you have a different performance review every single year. It's a different format and everything else. But there's something to be said about that when it comes down to how we measure the metrics here, because separate conversation, we implemented a freeze based on this release we've got going out tomorrow night. And we said 2 weeks ago, there's a freeze on any new features that are coming in. And then a week ago, it was a freeze against any defects that were coming in. We have a stable branch for the full code and release tomorrow night. But all of a sudden, I had developers going through and starting to gain those metrics to try and say, oh, this thing now meets with the freeze criteria, so it can get added in. And it wasn't technically a bug fix, but it kind of was. And I could hear actually people having that conversation. So where it may not make sense in the HR world to be constantly changing what is it that we're measuring, I think you start with those metrics, and it's an ongoing conversation that evolves with the organization to say, are we continually measuring the right thing instead of just driving to a goal that we set for every single year? If that helps.
Yeah, I'd like to echo something you said, right? Like you want to be very careful, whatever. Beauty, when it comes to metrics, I'm a huge fan that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? Every one of you are going to have different requirements for what a good metric looks like. But I'd be very careful because you said something very important. You want to be careful to not let them game the system,
Right?
because when they can, they will, right? And so I think you said something beautiful, which was make it easy, something about the easy and make it right. Make it easy and make it right, right?
Make it easy.
And so
Make
your
the right way
metrics,
easy.
yeah, that.
Easy way
So
right.
you should have easy metrics and like the right metrics. And again, that's a little subjective based on what your all specific needs are, but they make it make sense, right? Whatever you do pick, it has to make sense. Because if you're just going to have a metric for the sake of having a metric, your developers will find a way to hit that metric, right? I worked on a team one time where we used to bid on SLOC, source lines of code, and you bought 1 million lines of code. That developer made it fit in 1 million lines of code. Even if it took 2 million, they made it fit into 1 million. So you want to be very careful with what you pick because
No comments and documents. No.
just you hit the requirements. I had another one where we bid on story points. So
Yeah.
story points became irrelevant at that point because regardless, you had to hit the 1,000 total story points you bid for the project. And so you want to make it make sense, right? Like, otherwise, if it doesn't make sense, they will just exploit it. Yes.
Curious, maybe people can comment, what is a typical percentage of first pass code review fails? And what's a typical percentage of your ticket failed QA or integration? First pass.
I think it depends on your story. Because
Pretty technical stuff.
my belief, because I do a lot of
You guys got any metrics on that?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's scored anywhere.
You might have
I'm just
metrics on,
curious what
I
people.
don't know that I don't know that I've ever kept track of it, but my personal observations from what I've seen teams, right, is the more complex the story, the more likely you're going to fail that first pass, right? And the other thing that I know for a fact is egos are a very real thing. And when you don't know how to do something, you're going to fake it pretty well.
So how do you convince the developer
Right.
to ask questions rather than make stuff up?
It's got to be part of your culture. It's got to
It's
be
gotta
part
be-
of
yeah,
I think
it's
smaller
culture.
Pieces too, like when you get to the point of
Yeah.
reviewing code, how big is that
Review,
Right?
yeah.
Are you doing smaller chunks and getting feedback, or are you just waiting until it's all done and then?
It's very hard sometimes to break out ticket, I would say equal sized tickets. To be able to try to space that metric, because some tickets are a couple hours, some tickets are gonna take a couple days.
Yep.
And I think one of the things we struggle with is our SMEs on the technical side assume you add features to the database, you need the UI. Our developers add features to the database, forget the UI out there.
Yeah.
Now we have, we may as well not have it in the system.
You can't access them.
Yeah. My 2 cents on that is I'm a huge fan of retrospectives. I think
Yes.
having a huge trust with the team, right? Having like challenging, hard conversations, right? Hard, like difficult conversations with each other. Not having like executives or management in your retrospectives because people tend to turn off the moment the person that signs their check is in the room, right? And so you want to foster that trust. And I've always played a project manager type of role. And so one of my favorite books is Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink, which means I typically take the blame when the developer fails that QA, right? Because I didn't communicate something, I didn't do something. And so I try to take ownership so that they can see that I won't throw them under the bus. And I think as a project manager, it's easier to sit in an ivory tower and just kind of, issue commands from the top. But I think it works better when you lead, like leaders lead.
It's how you
Leaders
define your
eat last.
how you define your feedback loop.
Yeah.
You've gone through something didn't go right. Okay, let's have the retrospective. What happened? Here's what happened. I'm not pointing
But you
fingers.
can't-
We're
but-
not throwing anybody under the
Yeah.
bus. This is what we need to make sure we address next
I
time.
know you're a
So
I think trends too, right? Is it a certain area of the code base?
is it happening
Touch that?
every time?
Is
Or,
it-
yeah.
That's why I like
Types of
components.
features?
If you're not using your component field in Jira, you should be tracking these bugs that are coming up.
I think one of the biggest things we find is the tickets that weren't ready for dev, that the developer just grabbed and worked on and checked it.
Well, that's where we go back to
and everything
workflow.
else Before there was even, before they even had you had your structure, you're ready to go. They're ready to check the thing in.
Yeah.
They're probably gonna be
But that's what I was talking
Yeah.
about. Like your workflow is so
Yeah.
important, right? Like
Yeah.
I have my teams put a ready for dev step.
Yes, we do,
Right?
we have that.
Because
Okay.
otherwise they're just cherry picking from whatever they want. And
Exactly.
then let's not even get started on bugs. Because I like to say bugs are project manager's kryptonite.
But I think a key part of that is making sure that there is kind of a cohesive team element to it. And I like to introduce working agreements first thing in there. Okay. In the working agreement, this is how we're going to define how something is ready for dev. Here's our definition of ready. Here's our definition of done. Our product owner is going to call something done when it meets this. It passes the tests.
Yeah.
So
On that note too, I like to tell teams, every team, not just the team members, but intra teams should have the same understanding what a 1 for a story point means, what a 3 means, 5 means, because 2 different teams can't have different meanings on this because they're going to talk to each other, right? And it just muddies the water. Same thing with priorities, right? What's a priority 1? What's a priority 2? I used to work in defense, so my priority 1s were easy. Planes fall out of the sky. So if the code was going to let the plane fall out of the sky, we fixed that, right? But some companies don't have planes that can fall out of the sky, so you don't have to be as graphic.
You might want to pretend like you do.
Yeah, you might want to pretend like yeah. So you need that. So that everybody from your CTO down to the lowest level employee, they all need to understand what a priority 1 means when it comes to what should I be working on next, right? And Pam does. I'm really huge. One of the things that I usually coach my executives and just team when I'm setting up the Jira's is rank, right? Jira's rank feature is so powerful. But in the Jira Advanced Roadmaps, which, by the way, shameless plug, I will be doing a Jira Advanced Roadmaps talk breakout session at Team 25. So make sure you come by to that. But when I'm teaching how to use the Advanced Roadmaps, right, because you have that 30,000-foot view, the ranking of your initiatives, the ranking of your epics carries down to the Jira project. So now when you go look at your backlog and you show your epics, they're in the order in which they were in the order from your plan, which is now high-level stakeholder reviewed. And so it's easy. I mean, I try to make it as simple as possible, right? Components, releases, ranking, like priority, right? These are all the fields that I make sure are filled out when my teams are getting ready to work on something, because you don't want just developers working on stuff. Because if you let them, and I am a developer too, by the way, so when I say them, I am including myself. But when you let me, I'm gonna go do the low-hanging fruit, the easiest thing, right? It's in your nature, right? You want those wins, right? Like, what is it? The course is the good one or the bad one? There's that chemical in your brain, right? That you get dopamine. There we go. I knew there was one. You want that dopamine hit as much as possible, right? So they're gonna go with the easy stuff, and nobody's gonna work on the hard ticket. Like nobody, right? I've never seen anybody volunteer.
Until it's the last one left.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're just about 10 minutes remaining in the whole presentation, so we're going into lightning round. So if you do have any short questions we can answer, I'm going to give everybody here on the panel 1 minute in order to answer it. So if you do have something you want to ask, now is the time.
What are we excited about most, Team 25?
Disneyland.
he said,
I was there yesterday.
I should have known that. I'm sorry.
Next.
I will be a personal guide if anybody wants a guide.
I can't top Disneyland in this.
I'm not sure I'm fired up about the speakers or the
Sessions?
I mean the main
Keynotes?
Yeah, the keynotes.
Yeah, don't even get Bob started on my lack of why F1's not a team sport. That was watch last week's
Watch how Alex is hopelessly wrong when he says that F1 is not a team sport.
All I was saying is when it comes down to it, the driver and the road. There's not much of a team there. I get that there's an entire team.
That's because Alex, you can't see radio.
I get that there's a team behind it all, but what you see on TV is the driver and the road.
Is this the new hot dog sandwich?
There you go.
There you go. Congratulations.
You got it, Josh. Got him. Yeah. I'm,
Somebody's got to have.
although I'm always fascinated on what Atlassian announces and then how long it's going to take for that to actually come to
12
fruition.
months.
Usually 12 months.
Yeah. So
12
yeah,
months,
it's yeah.
Open question. Does anybody not know about team that it's coming out or anything else about it?
Team 25 Anaheim.
Yes. Is anybody going?
I live there, so I'm over there. I will have
If anybody
videos.
had a free ticket, would they go if they needed a free ticket? We give you 2 tickets though. We
Dang.
There you go.
Raise your hand.
Yeah.
Sleep on Alex's floor.
I hope you get right back with it when you're there.
Yeah, good. Come back with Bob.
Bob's coming in. He's gonna stay with me for like a week.
And I have to give him a spot just because Rodney said, my dyslexia, how many gets can a GitKraken get? GitKraken does gets.
6.
Under a second. I love it. Next question, maybe for some of you who haven't had a chance yet.
Anybody on the team for the first time? Everybody's seasoned veterans. I will give you a couple of tips and somebody has some questions. Opposite of Vegas, because in Vegas, the town's dead in the morning, but Anaheim is very much alive between the hours of 7 a.m. and midnight, right? Because there's families and everything everywhere. So you're going to walk a lot. Everything's way more spread out as far as like hotels and venues and stuff. So you'll be walking. Everything in the conference is going to be really close, but anything that you do outside of the conference, you're going to be walking. So it's not like the Venetian where everything's like restaurants are in the Venetian. So get ready to walk a lot. Get ready to have crowded streets and wait for lights or crosswalks, right? Because there are no bridges like there are in Vegas. So you're going to be having to cross streets to get to certain venues. I would say there's a safe area map on Slack. If anybody's interested, let me know. There are red lines. You should not cross those red lines past certain hours. Because isn't Scottsdale in Anaheim? Like people do die daily. I was driving down. I'm like Ferrari restaurant.
Other than that, Disneyland.
Happiest place on earth.
Yeah. But I did build a red like circle of trust type of thing. Like if stay in the circle, you'll be fine. Yeah.
I have a question for Ed.
Oh, God.
Ed, so are you going to take a Waymo back to the airport?
If we're here.
Do it.
You took one last night, right? For the first time.
Didn't a guy get stuck in a parking lot?
I'm fascinated by him. Fascinated.
It is awesome.
We did it in San Francisco, and you would think like, craziest city,
Best
like, all that.
We were in Austin, and Robin took one last night,
Yeah.
and I'm like, really?
In Austin for the first time, even though I live here.
Oh,
They've been here
wow.
forever. My first one was in Austin. I mean.
I mean, I'll do it.
it's the
Oh,
same,
yeah,
I
yeah.
felt so safe.
Get the app and
They
then.
follow every rule.
So in Austin, they did it through Uber. Is there a separate app here?
Yeah, it's a Waymo app.
Oh, okay.
Just be
Yeah, it was
careful.
through
'Cause
the Uber app in Austin. which was interesting.
there was a guy apparently, I don't know where, but he did get stuck in a parking lot going in circles.
Yeah, that was here at
That
the
was-
airport.
I
I
can see how that
have a video
happened.
if you want to see it. I have a video on my phone.
I can see how that.
Up against the window.
We took one to GitHub Universe in San Francisco, and I would have thought that we would not be able to handle the parking barriers and, the humans directing it. And that's where it shined, and that's where I was like, oh my goodness, like this is a different level of, my Uber driver would have had a hard time understanding. Like,
Don't put up
Actually, I felt
temporary
way safer
cones.
than my
It
Uber
does not
drivers.
work.
Anybody have a Tesla
Yes.
at all?
Anyone?
I learned when I went to Austin, if you have a Tesla or tell your friend that Tesla, do not leave full self-driving enabled because it will kill your battery by the time you come back from the airport. I learned that the hard way.
Okay, so if there are no more questions, I want to say thank you to all of our speakers here tonight. So give them a round of applause. All the information is available on LinkedIn or any other way in which they want you to contact them. But we appreciate you all for being out here tonight. GitKraken, thank you for hosting us as well. Barbecue was amazing. Thanks for getting everything together. It was a great turnout for an event, so thank you to them.
We have the discount, no?
Huh?
Oh, we have the discount?
Well, the discount the book is being discounted right now on Amazon. And also on the Pact
Yeah.
website.
So pick it up if you are coming to Teams and you want the signatures. Get it.
Yeah, if you want-
So you get it on time.
If you want to get 3 out of the 4 signatures, pick up a copy of the book, go to Team, see if you can hunt us down.
Yeah.
There may or there may not be a copy signed by 3 of the authors on eBay tomorrow.
You gotta wait till you get the 4th one, man.
Currently, I'm one, so
That's awesome.
I still do. I'm like, just-
Start a YouTube channel. That's what I did. I quit my job to start a YouTube channel.
So what we're gonna do after this is we're gonna go and kill the live stream so that everybody can go from there. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over there, I'm gonna get the list of everybody who signed in, plus everybody who joined online, because we had at some point 10 people in there. We're gonna just do the raffle on my computer, and then if you did one, I'll like, as soon as you get the results, I will make sure to announce it in the room and post that on all the different, either email or everywhere else. But we still have barbecue left, so please feel to have
Yes.
some.
Please.
And we mingle, this is not, you don't have to leave. Just whenever we close the place out, or whenever they take us out, we're
If
gonna.
you want pictures, we're here.
Yes. So y'all, thank you very much.
And any other Disney questions?
Dear,
No, let me know.
Dear.
You want to take one of these Waymo things?
You just signed Waymo.
Waymo's, right?
Yeah, 2 thumbs up.
Okay.
When I see them pull out in front of traffic and like cut them off, I'm like,